All right. Qué tal, bella gente? Welcome to 96.5 KZAA FM LP. Que Madre in partnership with Bienestar Latinx. We are your hostesses. We have the incredible Ana Rosa Rizzo with us, and also Alejandra Belén Cortez Narvaez Melo Lopez, and all our ancestors. And in the back, we got my brother cooking. So if you're listening and you're listening to some sizzling, that is my little big brother. He is taller than me. But he is my younger brother, so sometimes he'll listen to me. Today's topic is a really good one. All of our topics are awesome, and this one is so important as we're going into summer, going into the fall, going into the rest of this year, and it's a good time to evaluate. Like, how are my relationships going? There is nothing more important than having relationships in this time. It's so important, to know that you're not alone, to navigate, to feel like I have someone I can talk to. And every time I talk to Anna, like, just my heart expands and I can listen and I can tune into the world. And then also then you start finding yourself, evaluating other relationships and wondering, is this really the relationship that I need and want and be part of in this lifetime right now? And if it's not, how do we let go of those relationships? That is tricky. That is tricky because it's an art. It's definitely an art. So those are topics for today. So I hope that you are having a beautiful day today, and so grateful that you're tuning in today with us on Que Madre in partnership with Bienestar Latinx. Ana Rosa Rizzo, ¿qué te parece? What are your thoughts on just relationships?
Well, first of all, I'm really enjoying this microphone that your brother lent us because I get to play Oprah. Hello, hello. You get a car. You get a car. Um, and I saw a meme that really brought this topic home for me. It said, "The only thing I'm forcing at this point is jeans over my butt, but not relationships." And I think that that really drives it home, because when it feels like it's forced, then it's no longer, I mean, not that it doesn't involve work, because relationships involve work, but when you're forcing it, then there's clearly something wrong. So I think that's the hardest part, though, is realizing, when do you get to that point where it's no longer salvageable, and when do you have to move on?
Yes. No, so important. I mean, like, the people around you are really, they're making you or they're breaking you. So it's so important to consistently be just, doing an inventory on your own relationship with yourself, of course, the relationship around you, and then a spiritual relationship. We have a relationship with our ancestors, and that's something that I got to learn a little bit more about. We're all having spirits having a human experience. And that hit home for me because it's like, it's a relationship also with Nuestra Madre Tierra, our own self on a cellular level. So I love this topic. I'm glad we're talking about it. So, like, where do we start? How do you know it's not being forced? Like, where do we go from there?
Well, first is the relationship with ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we react to other people and we're like, oh, what if they're not liking me? Then that means I need to fix something or change something about myself in order for them to like me. But the first thing is making sure you like yourself. Because if you don't like yourself, any relationship with any other person is not going to work out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of working from the inside out, and versus the outside in, which is, I think, the way a lot of people operate, including how I used to operate when I was younger. But I feel like something happened to me when I hit 40, is like, no, I'm not living for everyone else's approval anymore, because I need to be right with myself, and then I'll be able to be good with others. And if I can't be good with others, well, then that means that they're not meant to be part of my life.
So there was a shift there. What happened for you? Like, where was the moment that you're like, I'm going to shift, and really, like, the relationship has to happen with me first? Because it's so true. I can just think of all the times when I didn't love myself, and I looked around, and yeah, that reflected because the people around me didn't really love me, didn't really care about me. And the people that did, I really pushed them away. So, that's definitely a really good, like, inventory place. Like, look outside to kind of also see how you're doing on the inside, and then go within yourself. So what was the shift? How did you make that shift? Or when did you realize I need to make that change?
I think the difficult, well, more than difficult, the toxic relationships that I had with my last two employers, really, like, the way that they devalued me made me check and be like, well, why are they devaluing me? Like, is there something that I could do better? And then I realized that I had that instinct to always put things on myself. And that probably stems from, childhood sexual abuse, from having a abusive relationship as a teenager. And so you're always like walking on eggshells, esperando, like worried about si te van a pegar, And
Yeah.
so when I realized that I was working for organizations that didn't value me as a woman of color, it made it so that I had to be that much more intentional about valuing myself, especially because I have a daughter and I don't want to come home to her and see me tired and exhausted and demoralized. So I think that's, ironically, me querían hacer mal, pero me hicieron bien, because they made me realize that I am worth it and I am worthy of love, and screw them.
Yes. Yes. We need that. We need those, like, screw you guys. Screw you. I'm done. Right. To take that like energy and move through, like, I'm going a different direction. I love that. And it really speaks to like transformation, when things are hurtful, that we have the power, the ability, when we, really center ourselves and want to go back into balance, of transforming that, not transmitting it. So I love that, like that moment where you're like, okay, so Mija, I want her to see the transformation. I don't want her to feel any kind of that transmission of pain and anger towards family or other people that love. So I love that. That's great. So I mean, and I could tell, girl, you are shining. You are just like in your element, you're balanced, you are, you're you. And I think that's when you realize, like, I'm in a good place with relationship with myself and others, when you feel balanced, when you feel authentic, most of the day. And that's a good place to reevaluate. I think back of like the times that I wasn't. And it's interesting. Sorry, first of all, it's so funny to have a microphone like in my face right now with you holding it. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so serious. Or should I do karaoke? Should we just say,
Yeah, do it.
do it?
A bolero.
Bolero. So when I've been in places where I'm surrounded by people that don't care about me and are really just, about take, I was in the pattern of self-betrayal. So it just encouraged the self-betrayal, because they encouraged the self-betrayal. It was in benefit of them. So that's how I was really part of that cycle of toxic relationships and toxic behaviors, where I was betraying myself. And so, as time has changed and I look around and I feel so blessed, like I'm gonna close my eyes right now and open them. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have Diosa in front of me.
Oh my God.
Like, what did I do? Well, you know what? I am gonna give myself credit. It had to do with like, making sure that I care about myself and pray for like positive, healthy relationships and like friendships that just, just like flourish, with love. And, how you see me, it's like, oh, that encourages me to try to see myself that way too. And like the mirror, reflecting that back. So the inventory is important. I can't think of the time that it happened. I think it's happened to me in multiple spaces in my life. But it definitely makes a world of a difference. The sun comes out way more often when there's a relationship with yourself, and the relationship with others is just healthier. Yeah. Now, would you like me to hold the microphone, or are you? I just feel like
I
you're
like
loving
it.
Yeah.
I love it. No, just kidding.
I'll be your backup singer.
You're an answer to my prayers.
Oh my God. So yeah, so you're listening, you're watching us on YouTube or listening on KZAA 96.5 LP Casa. To where are you at? Just take a moment right now. Like, are you happy with your friendships? Are you happy with the relationships? Everything is relational. Like, when you feel cared for, where you feel like you belong, I mean, you feel like you're unstoppable, and that's important. It's important. Your mental health improves. Your relationship with others, with yourself improves. Your your energy improves,
Mhm.
your decision making improves. I know that, again, doing my inventory, looking around, like, yeah, you know 10 years ago, the decisions I was making 10 years ago versus now are completely different, and my
Mhm.
patterns are different. Even the way I think is different, because when I have positive relationships, healthier ones, like, they actually interrupt my negative thinking, because
Mhm.
we're complementing each other, and I'm like,
Mhm.
if Anna keeps saying I'm pretty, man, I'm okay. I mean, she's
Girl, you fine.
she's like say Lex level, we are fine. Yeah, so like those are so important to evaluate, and sometimes we don't, because we're just in the go 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 go. And what was happening to me for a while, that I I myself wasn't nourishing friendships. So I think I have to give myself, like, you know, like, give myself up and say there was times that I was not a healthy relationship for others.
Mm.
And it wasn't until I started changing that within myself that I actually was able to be a better friend, be a better sister, better daughter. The roles that are really important for me, transformed as I transformed the relationship with myself. And then even leadership, to lead with more kindness, to lead with like authentically.
Mhm.
Because there's this, like, who I am authentically was leading that.
Mhm. Yeah, because we're not just talking about romantic relationships.
Mm.
We're talking about friendships. We're talking about your sibling relationship, your relationship with your parents, your neighbors, in your case, your students,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
Um, and that's really beautiful too, Profesora Ali.
I know. That's got a ring to it.
How's it going?
Oh my gosh. So if you're tuning in for the first time, I am a professora at Antioch University, teaching the next generation of mental health therapists. And I'm so fortunate to also be teaching a cohort that emphasizes on Latino mental health. And I love it. Oh my gosh. It is a relationship. They're teaching me a lot, and it's a plática, it's in conversation. I've learned to see it also as like ceremonial, where we have a beginning, middle, and end. And so cultivating that network and just, nurturing their where they have fears.
Mhm.
It just reminds me of where I had my fears, and I still
Mhm.
have fears. They're just not the same ones. And I can just nurture those fears and say, you know what? Let's cultivate that.
Mhm.
Let's see it a different way. Let's remember that you're beginning your journey
Mhm.
as a therapist, and after 3,000 hours, you're not going to be the same person. So
Right.
reminding them to like keep going, and I'm just adding a little bit of things to the table, and they get to pick and choose how they're
Mhm.
going to create their own formula for success. And they're already, and just reminding you, already successful, you got to this point already, like,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I might as well try to enjoy the journey and not let the fear really dictate how you're going to define yourself as a therapist. So it's been a really awesome journey, and I'm so grateful for the students who are in that program, and just give me space to kind of share just my experience, and then have a conversation together where they're teaching me about like what their experience has been, and just you weave that all in together and for the benefit of our community.
Mhm.
So it's been an awesome journey. But talking about awesome journeys, how's it going for you, Chica? Give us an update. She was on an article. She's all famous. That's my girl. That's my best friend.
Yeah, so I'm executive director of Santa Paula Latino Town Hall, and it's such a great organization. It's membership-based organization, and it's been active for almost 26 years. It's a civil rights organization, right? So advocating for Latinos and Latinas on issues that matter to us, whether it be education, healthcare, um, civic engagement, you name it, we're involved in it. And it's just such a difference to have like I had a meeting with my bosses yesterday, and it was such a joyful meeting, and just it's like night and day from where I was before. So to have that love and respect and trust from people that I also trust and respect and look up to a lot is really beautiful. And so our first meeting now that I'm ED is going to be on the 20th, so I'm getting ready for that. And I have a lot on my plate, but I'm excited to do the work. I'm like, yeah, let's tackle it. So yeah, it's good. It's really good.
That's amazing. So like what are some of your what is your vision there? I'm excited to hear about that.
So our reach kind of expands beyond Santa Paula. So there's actually kind of a conversation within the organization right now about dropping the Santa Paula part of our name
Mhm.
and making it a more inclusive name. Also, because it says Latino and there's no Latina or X on it, that's also something that I'm saying, hey, maybe we should add that to the name too,
Yes.
to be more inclusive. So just making sure that we're pushing the envelope because if you look at the leadership of different government institutions on the Central Coast, there's very few of us represented there, and that needs to change. So
Mhm.
advocating for that and trying to get our youth more involved in it. I've always loved working with youth, since I can remember, and so I want to definitely bring that to the table here as well.
Oh, nice. That
Mhm.
is awesome. Well, they're so lucky to have you and, count me in, count us all in to be of, any events or anything that we can do to support and elevate and lift that awesome message. And I love that.
Mhm.
Congrats.
Thank
So relationships, yeah. I
you.
know, catching up. So when do you think it's time to leave a relationship? And it could be, it could be a friendship relationship, a romantic relationship, and just, to everybody that's listening and watching right now too, like when is it time?
Mhm.
When is it like, okay, enough is enough? Or what are the circumstances? What are your thoughts on that?
So partnerships, even though they're not exactly 50-50 at all times, when you at least see that the other person is making an effort too, because sometimes I feel like relationships, whether it be friends or romantic, they become very one-sided, right? Y una persona siempre está buscando el otro and not the other way around.
Mhm.
And so when there's not that partnership, I would say you need to stop and say, hey, what's going on? Like, is there room to fix this? And then if there's a path to fixing it, great. But if it looks like the other person just isn't interested, then say, hey, I deserve more than that. And then it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it because I've been in an abusive relationship. Si te están pegando, there is no excuse for that. Like, leave that relationship immediately
Mhm.
now.
Yes.
um, that is not okay. You did not deserve that. You need people that love and respect you. And then, just like there's different friendships on the lighter side, where it definitely felt like I was seeking the person and you would say you're going to make plans and then at the end of the day they never get back to you with like a day and time and you're like, all right, well, this is now a pattern. This has happened 2 or 3 times.
Mhm.
So maybe there's just not that interest. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it's so important to if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, you're kind of just going with the flow, and that could, you can become that like, ooh, you're such a, you just go with the flow, you're so, kick back, you're I love hanging out with you. And that becomes a pattern, and sometimes you don't even realize that you're just going with the flow and not even knowing like, this is what I like and this is not what I like. So when you get to know yourself so well, like these are things that I like in myself. I also want to have that as a friendship. Or sometimes you're like, I'm missing this, but I would like to know more of that. And so you want to go seek out those friendships too, right? Like, you don't want to just be always with people like yourself. You also want to like get different perspectives on things. A good friend will play devil's advocate with you and say like, hey, chica, like, are you sure you want to be in that romantic relationship?
Mhm.
Hey, love, are you sure you want to take that job? Is that really best for you? You want someone to kind of, have some opposing, thoughts on what you think is the direction.
So you don't just want yes people.
You don't want yes people. No, 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 no. But you don't want to be the yes people person either. You don't want to be in someone's life and just be like, yeah, wear those pants. Yeah, go for it. Like, you also want to be someone that
You're like, girl, your penny lines are showing.
exactly, and also have the like, well, yes, my pants, but like, that's what I want that to show, I'm having a hot girl summer. Okay. So that's what I want. And then that person being cool with it, like, okay, girl, then I will support that. Okay. I will not support you being in a relationship where you are, being hit. So like, there's this balance of just a back and forth receiving and giving, you can't just be someone that's always giving, but you also can't be the person who's always giving, and vice versa. You can't be the person who's always receiving and also just being the receiver, you know? There
Mhm.
is this beautiful fluidity to like, you know, having fast motion, slow motion. And so when it comes to evaluating your friendships, it's to like really come down to like, what do I like? What don't I like? And we've talked about this before in other episodes about manifestation. And I think what I like about manifestation is that you have to get really clear about what you want. Um, and friendships, relationships are very much like that. You know, you have to be really clear about what you're seeking. Um, and when it comes to toxic relationships, sometimes they're not even that toxic. Sometimes it's that your personalities clash too much.
Mhm.
Maybe you just don't have that much in common. So it's tricky. It's tricky to realize, when do I leave and when do I not? And it's a process. Sometimes it's about, you know, you privately checking in with yourself, like, am I really, are we vibing here? Are we giving each other what we need? Because sometimes it's like, oh, I love my friend because we can do all these, you know, we can be traviesas, you know, and it's like, that's cool, you know, be traviesa, have fun. And also there's you know, like, oh shoot, like I'm drinking, like, you know, every day, but drinking in a way that I'm also blacking out, or, you know, I'm starting to use harder drugs, like, but we're having a good time. I'm doing it with my girl, I'm doing it with my guy, I'm doing it with my bestie, I'm not, you know. So evaluating, what are your goals, you know, is that person really aligning with your goals? And if they're not, are they like supporting it? And if
Mhm.
not, then you really have to give yourself a really big pep talk about, how am I going to take the next step without this person?
Mhm.
Or can I love this person from afar and I need to take a break? So it's a lot of evaluating and a lot of like processing. And I highly recommend the journaling, you know, track the relationship, because sometimes, you know, we want to just go into like the positivity, like, oh, they're great and they're so good and they're so good and this is the other good things. You have to see all sides of it. I think
Mhm.
one way to direct that is, you know, what are my goals? Is
Mhm.
that person aligning to my goals or supporting my goals? And then personality wise, I think to, you know, being real with yourself. I am a low maintenance friend. And I have a really hard time with high maintenance friends, meaning, you know, someone that's like, I want to hang out with you every day and I want you to like talk to me. And if you don't call me, you're a bad friend, you know, like kind of as like, you know, like really high expectations. But I do really well with, you know, what they call low maintenance friends, or low maintenance, which is like, I meet my own needs and like we get to vibe. And if we don't get to hang out, that's cool. Like, you be you. Like, I love you at your authenticity. Of course, there's, you know, a level of respect that needs to be there. It doesn't mean I have no expectations, but you know, the expectations aren't like you have to be there for all the good parts and all the bad parts. The flexibility that it's not rigid.
Mhm.
So I've had friends who are high maintenance, and that, you know, I ended up feeling like a bad friend because I couldn't meet all those standards.
Mhm.
um and that just at the end was just causing both of us pain.
Mhm.
So it was time to let go
Mhm.
and release. I've also been on the other side where I was the friend that was the toxic friend,
Mhm.
because I was, you know, living my toxica life and having, you know, um, my friend got fed up with, you know, me coming back to this guy that was a toxic relationship, and
Mhm.
she did everything. She was there for me. She was nice. She got angry. You know, she really was with me through it all, but I wasn't changing. And
Mhm.
it was too painful for her to watch me just dim my lights.
Whew.
Hmm. So yeah, this is the truth.
Well, I think that's a huge indicator, right? Anybody who's making you dim your light,
Mm,
that is not somebody that you want to be around. And that's why I really love our relationship as friends, because we like help bring out the light in each other and recognize the light that's there. Because that's not necessarily there with everybody. And, you know, both of us are busy women, like tenemos las manos en todo, and we're trying to change the world. And so when you're like that, it's hard to have high maintenance friends that want you there for everything. because you're like, yeah, I mean, I'm here for you, but also like we've got some work to do, you know? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So like, what have been the times where you have had to make that hard choice and let a friend go or a relationship go?
I've had to deal with that more in the last couple years than I would like to admit. I only say that because it's people that I really valued, but it definitely felt like the value was not reciprocated. So, you can only try for so long before you're like, all right, well, if you're not going to try back, then I'm going to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you feel about that? Because I think, sometimes we're going to like the full like, oh, let it go, and it's hard. And then after you do that, what was that like for you?
I definitely felt like a process of grieving, right? Because what I imagined our friendship was going to be like is not what it has turned out to be. So you kind of have to grieve the relationship and just accept that it's not going to be the way you imagined it. And then, I mean, like I said, I'm a busy person, so I also can't stay in the grief all the time. Got to keep it moving.
Sing it, girl. Sing it, girl. You got the mic. You got the look. I'm just like, yes. Yeah, no, those are some really, really, really good points. And um grieving, it is sometimes when I look back at the times that I had to let go of friends or, a relationship, it took some time to get back to like, okay, I'm okay with this, like accepting it. One, accepting that you're gonna have to make a change. Two, accepting that, yeah, your life is gonna be different because that person was in your life and now you are choosing not to have that person around you. And that I know that kind of sometimes is wrapped up in self-doubt. Like, did I make that good choice? Like, was I being too hard? Why did I make that choice? And to just land on, you did it for a reason. You did it for a reason. And accepting that, and just accepting this new what's it called, like step in life. Maybe things are going to slow down because there was a relationship that was consistently creating crisis situations, right? And so now you are now going to have a slower pace in your life, and you can actually focus on other things, or vice versa. There was a friendship or a relationship that they wouldn't letting you grow, and then all of a sudden you're growing really fast. So there is, just noticing, being attuned, being aware, being conscious. That conscious awareness is key to having a fruitful life, quality of life. I think going back to like quantity versus quality. I just remember earlier in my life, I just wanted to have so many friends, and that meant I was valuable. And now it comes down to, if my friendships, my relationships, my interactions, my own patterns are quality. So how do you define that? Well, everybody has their own definition. So like, if you're listening to us right now, how do you know you're having quality in your relationships?
So to give an example, today I was really impressed that you still wanted to do the show with what you're going through, and just also giving you the space that if you couldn't or didn't feel up to it, that you can bow out without feeling bad about it. Like having respect for what's going on in the other person's life, I think is really important. And to me, that indicates quality because you care about the quality of that person's life and their feelings. And I think that's huge. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes. No, I am like super grateful because there's been so many times where I'm like, Anna, I'm running late. And you give me grace. You give me so much grace. And it's like, so, and there's times where I'm like, I want to change that. I don't want to be like that. I want to be like, hey, come home. And I'm still working on that. So yeah, that definitely is a great example. So thank you. So if you're listening right now, so one of the things that, I'm going through is, so my dad is in the hospital right now. He's never been in the hospital. He's kind of been like, the I'm strong, I got this, and you don't do this, I do this. So we're definitely going to be going through a whole like change in our family. He's going to be having open heart surgery on Friday. And, we're just going through like, okay, the shock. And there is a I'm really grateful for like the healthy relationships we have cultivated, because our family didn't always have healthy like dynamics. um but now it's really showing how we're really working together, and calling on our friends. My dad's like, no le digas a nadie, don't tell anybody. And Yuna's like, los trapitos out. Like, no, we need help. Our lives are going to change, and we're going to have to see things differently. He has to release some things, and he's going to have to let my brother, myself, my mom, his friends, take on some of that right now, and probably for the rest of his life now. And so we're doing that while we're also working through like, holy moly. I'm like, wait, I'm on the radio. Our lives are going to change, and he's going to have open heart surgery. And what does that mean? They're going to stop his heart for a while. They're going to stop his lungs for a while. So like everything in between. So just juggling a lot of those things. And one of the things that I've come to terms is like, I feel just so grateful for these friendships, like you who are like, yeah. And also like, I want to do this. I want to do this radio show because that gives me joy, and you brought that to my life. And like, just like so plentiful of like gratefulness for you and what you've done and what you've, brought to this world. Like Gloria, she's just every time I see that little cringe, I'm just like, my heart just sparks so much joy. So that's quality, I think that is, and it's never, when I look back at some of my relationships, rather, other examples of like quantity relationships, like when it comes down to, hey, I'm having a hard time, who's going to be there? Who's, like people like, oh, I'm down for the good times, fiesta, vamos a, el reventón. And, but then when that goes away and you really need someone there, like who's there? So that's the quality. That's the quality. And it reflects also, it improves your health, Studies are showing more and more. It's like, it's all about relationships, and nobody is going to, our children never say, oh, I'm so grateful, my mom and my dad and the adults around me like worked more. Never. So yeah.
So you bring up a really important point, and I'm going to say that after I do station identification, because I realize we're overdue for that. So you are listening to Que Madre in partnership with Bienestar Latinx with Ali Cortez and Ana Rosa Rizo Centino on KZAA 96.5 FM LP. And the relationship that you brought up is, the relationship between sons and daughters with their parents. And I think nobody warned me what it was going to be like growing up and seeing your parents age and what that does to the relationship. I mean, I love my parents more than ever, but it is just really hard to see them aging and to go through health difficulties, because I also had my father go to the hospital earlier this year, and it was super traumatic because he's never been the one that had health issues. It's always been my mom. So to see this strong man like in the hospital was really, really difficult. And it is in those times when, it's really difficult that you look around and you see who's there for you and who's not. And to me, that's like, okay, I know who my real friends are.
Yeah, exactly. One, I'm sorry, love. I know, like, it's changing, we all have a family life cycle. And when we get to that part of the cycle where, the people that were like, the heads and like, I'm going to take care of it. You're my queen. You're my, then all of a sudden it's like this flip, and what, like, for example, what I think with my dad, it's like, he's going through it where he's like, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm going to go through X, Y, and Z, because we were talking to, his doctor, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna be out for like 6 weeks, like hardcore, and you can't you can't be the strong man, she literally was like, none of that. Okay. Like you need to say when you're having pain. You need to share when you can't do something. Like this is not the time to be the strong, the strong man. Um, and so I'm also seeing this like, okay, we're showing up, we're stepping up, and letting him know that it's gonna be okay. But also for his like ego, this is him where he's gonna have to work through his ego and be like, this doesn't mean you're less of a man. It doesn't mean you're less that you're not the provider. Like he's gonna have to shift that role and really transform it into I'm still this dad, I'm still this husband, I'm still this worker, and be at ease with that. So I'm just seeing that already happen and just go through that, and it's part of the family cycle, and being like, okay, like this is where the patterns need to change, and we can make them so fruitful, we can make them so healthy. And I even told them, I was like, we can be even stronger than ever. It's so he's having the bypass surgery, and so what they're going to do is they're going to take some pieces of his veins from his arm and his leg to recreate some pieces of the artery that are damaged. So I was using that as a metaphor. I was like, we're taking this, and we're going to make it a fabric of our family, and it's going to be a part of our family cycle where we're going to say, wow, we got closer, we did more things together, like we let go of things that really didn't make sense, these egos, or these perceptions of who we have to be and how we have to interact with each other, and we're actually going to be a little bit more intimate, because we're going to see each other in different lights right now. So my mom's like, can you stop being a therapist right now? So yeah, family cycles, and it comes down again, everything is a relationship, everything, and sometimes we've been taught to look at things of like, or that cognitive way of like, okay, one thing and then second thing and then third thing, or think about it logically. And no, relationships are not logical. It's not logical. One day you're like so love some person, and the next day you're like, I hate you. And they're still up. Yeah. So my husband right now, he's like, can you stop talking about me?
Like on the radio show?
Huh?
Like on the radio show?
No. I'm just saying, like, because like with my husband, like there's times where I'm like, oh my God, he's like my everything. He's the sexiest, handsome thing ever in the world. And then there's moments where I'm like, I can't stand you. Like
you're breathing too loud.
Can you stop eating like that?
I can hear you chewing.
Yeah. And it's messy, but it shouldn't be chaotic. I think there's a difference. Like relationships can be very messy, and that can make it fun, that can make it playful, right? And then, but it shouldn't be chaotic. If it's chaotic, I think, going back to like, when is it time to like let go? Okay, what does chaotic look like for you? Define what chaotic means, and just have the courage to do the hard thing, but it's the right thing.
So how do you let go?
You ghost them. You just disappear. You're reacting.
Are you serious?
No.
That's how most people do it, though. I'm saying.
Have you been ghosted before?
No, but I've always been the one to break up with the other person. Except the worst relationship I was ever a part of, the abusive one that I was telling you about. He basically broke up with me because I wouldn't have sex with him.
What? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and he tried to pressure me into it, and he just was like, okay, I'm gonna drive you home now.
How did you feel after that?
Well, I was 17 years old, and he was an adult, so and he's a cop now, by the way.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So sometimes I'm just like, sometimes I wish we could like write reviews. Some people be like, by the way, look out for this, because like, it's a small town, and yeah. Me lo quiero chingar. After the show me dices el nombre. No, yeah. What were we talking about? I'm just like, I'm trying
Ghosting
to
people,
like, who have I
ghosting people.
seen? Who am I-
Have you ghosted
I'm
someone?
I'm targeting now. I'm like, who is it? I'm gonna go chingar, like, how dare he? Yeah, ghosting. Yes, I have been ghosted. And I think, as I got, when I was younger.
What an idiot.
I know, right? And then I saw him holding hands with another girl at the mall. I'll throw it on my list. Going to chingar. Yeah.
I love how you say me lo voy a chingar with such a smile on your face.
Doesn't that make it more evil? Like, just imagine like a little Joker face. So yeah, I have been ghosted. It used to hurt, and now I'm just like, thank you. You did what, you did the hard work, because for me it's just easier, like, oh, bye. Yeah, I have been ghosted before. I've also ghosted though. I've also did not have the courage to say, this is why I don't want to hang out with you anymore.
You
You suck.
suck.
You suck. It's you, it's not me. So I'm just not going to respond to this. So I've also been on the other side. So how do you let go? Well, there's an art form to that, one, I think you have to mentally prepare, and try to do it, how do I say it? Like, do it authentically, like if you're angry, be angry, but be honest. I think when people have let me go, and they weren't honest, it just left me like, okay, what did I do wrong? Like, it would have been just out of kindness, out of, just being a human, out of human kindness, to be like, I have a language I can use and I can share with you. I have words to describe what happened, and this is my feedback. And I want to break, or I want to completely never see you again. Like, just be clear about that, because then the other person is going to be like just ruminating and worrying. Most people do that, so just be honest, and it's hard. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. The times that I've had to do it, I'm always grateful at the end of it, because now I have more peace. Like, I'm like, okay. But the times that I've just ghosted, I end up I'm like, that's not my code of conduct, because that's not how I want to be treated. Yeah. So I end up just feeling, really, poo-poo about it. What can I say on the radio? I'm just like, can I say caca? Okay, caca. Me siento muy caca. I lean in the microphone more. So
I mean, I guess you could say mierda, but that's even grosser.
Yeah, I don't like that word. No, I don't know. So we'll stick with caca. So yeah, I think just being honest and just build. You're gonna have to mentally prepare, because what that means is you're gonna have to find the courage to talk to that person and tell them why. And it's, again, there's no logic to this. Sometimes you're like, I'm just letting you go, because like, we just don't have a lot in common, and you might be like, I don't want to be mean. Well, you're not being mean. You're sharing a truth that's going to help both of you, because like, body language is going to say it. The body never lies. So like, you're gonna might even start feeling and looking uncomfortable and being with that person, and it's like, is that really how you want to be around somebody else? Is that the energy you want to give as well? So it's gonna take some courage. What do you think? How can we do this?
When you said the body never lies, it made me think of that Shakira song, Hips Don't Lie. Sorry, that's just how my brain works. My brain thinks about songs. You're a good singer. I heard you're a really good singer. You need to sing for our audience sometime.
Yeah, the Shakira.
You even have that like Fleming sound in the back.
Yeah, but then after I try to sing the song, it just doesn't go. I got that part down. That's all I got.
Well, you have been listening to Bienestar Latinx with Que Madre, having a Shakira moment right now. And Ali Cortez and Rosa Rizo Centino. We have really enjoyed this hour with you. We hope you listen on KZAA 96.5 FM LP or on YouTube. You can also find us there on our KZAA radio YouTube station. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you again next Thursday. And you have a treat next Thursday because we're bringing back Siobhan Hoover, who was on our show before, and she's going to be doing a lot more shows with us. So we're excited. Hope you are too. Au revoir, mon chéri.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I must have. Okay, goodbye. Love you all so much, and we'll be seeing you in the next episode.